Like, there's a reason that I think Crawford's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, right? Because I think, and Canelo once was. Even though Crawford is biologically older, Canelo has had the longer career. He's been fighting since he's a teenager, and there's been signs recently that maybe he's not the same guy that he used to be. If you go down the list and ask me about tactical advantages, most of them are Crawford. What Canelo has is size, and as a result, physical strength. And
Max is back, and this time he's weighing in on Canelo versus Crawford, calling it one of the biggest showdowns boxing could ever see. For longtime fans, it brings back that old school vibe, just like the days when he hosted those intense face-off shows where fighters looked ready to fight over more than just pride. Now he's still breaking down the smallest details, every jab, every adjustment, every smart move inside the ring, sounding like that sharp professor who just happens to spend his free time in a boxing gym.
Crawford.
Best defense.
Crawford. Nowadays, Crawford. I would say early in the fight, Canelo. And earlier in his career, Canelo. But he hasn't been that kind of fighter in...
First things first, best jab? That goes to Crawford. Best defense? Still Crawford. If we're talking early rounds, maybe Canelo edges it. Earlier in his career, sure, he had that style. But lately, he hasn't fought that way. And only Max can make something so simple sound like a pay-per-view intro. His verdict? Skill for skill, Crawford has the sharper toolkit. But let's not forget, Canelo looks like he was carved out of iron. You can't coach that kind of size and power. When Max compared it to Hagler versus Duran, that was him dipping into the archives of boxing history.
Moved up from junior middle to middle, but he'd started it light, just like Crawford. And Hagler was the best pound for pound in the whole thing. And that fight was nip and tuck all the way. And Hagler had to outwork him in the 15th round to get a decision. So that's the kind of fight I see here. I think this is going to be a...
If Crawford pulls this off, people need to keep that same energy they had doubting him. You don't move up 3 divisions and beat a monster like Canelo by accident. That's like showing up at a cookout, taking over the grill, and somehow serving perfect barbecue without burning a thing. Only a rare breed can do that.
You see, Canelo has had a bit of problems with southpaws. You can see Canelo, I can see him getting frustrated, picking him up like how he does, like when he gets frustrated. But I say 6th, 7th, 8th round on up, I think he'll figure him out. And we need Canelo to get a stoppage, if not get a get a knockout. I think it'll be great for Mexico, and it'll be great for Razas. But I got Canelo, coming.
And just when Max gave us that professor in the gym style breakdown, we got an insider's view. Canelo's sparring partner, Sean Hemphill, came forward with real experience. He spent 5 weeks trading shots with Canelo day in, day out. Hemphill kept it honest. Some days he believes Crawford could do it, but then he remembers Canelo's chin is like reinforced steel.
Great experience, arguably one of the best fighters in the world right now. Just sparring with him definitely boosted my confidence. I actually was sparring him and Munguia some days, 6 days in a row, back to back. So it definitely did a lot, experience-wise, confidence-wise, and just knowing I can move around with those guys and not only just survive, but to hold my own 5 weeks.
His advice was straight to the point. Crawford has to stay on his toes, box smart, and keep moving. Standing still against Canelo is like signing up to catch bricks with your ribs. Hemphill made it crystal clear. This is Crawford's brain versus Canelo's chin, and only one of them will give. And the fact it comes from a guy who's been under Canelo's pressure in sparring tells you everything.
Advantages that Saul will have from your point of view?
If Crawford beats Canelo,
what does he have to do to beat Canelo to negate those physical advantages, the size, the weight?
Yeah, he's going to have to box. He's going to have to be smart, moving, not just sitting in one spot and let Canelo pressure.
Now, let's be real. Canelo versus Crawford is pure chaos waiting to happen. Canelo Alvarez has a chin that's beyond normal. This man absorbed bombs from Gennady Golovkin, arguably the hardest hitter of his era, and barely blinked. But then, on the flip side, Crawford hasn't looked invincible either. Fighters like Madrimov showed us he can be touched.
Terence Crawford moved from 47 to 54 to fight Madrimov. What did he do to Madrimov? Nothing.
And that's the big question. What happens when Canelo, a natural powerhouse, lands on a naturally smaller fighter? At the same time, Crawford has the sharpest ring IQ in the sport. He studies opponents like a computer, makes adjustments mid-fight, and suddenly you're drowning. This matchup is simple. Granite chin versus genius brain. The unstoppable force versus the master strategist. Something's got to give.
Because he could win by a knockout, and Crawford could probably win by moving around and making the fight a little difficult for Canelo.
But just when the talk was all about size and power, Alicia Baumgardner stepped in with a reality check. She reminded everyone that Canelo isn't just strong, he's skilled. And she's right. People focus on who's bigger, but boxing is also about who's sharper, smarter, and more experienced. Alicia pointed out that Crawford loves a challenge, but let's not forget, Canelo has faced giants before and come out on top.
Biggest test for Terence, I would have to agree with the size. And I also have to note that experience is everything when it comes to boxing. And I feel like Canelo is
She also raised a key point. Crawford's power at 168. He's slick and accurate, sure, but can his punches really hurt a guy who shrugs off heavyweights in sparring? Right after her breakdown, Liam Smith added his perspective like a veteran in the barbershop. No hype, no fluff, just honesty. He said he'd be shocked if things went the way Crawford's fans are dreaming. That's years of hard-earned wisdom talking.
A fight at the weight he's at, walking around at. I think Crawford might come in 164, 165 and try and keep a bit of speed because that's his best asset, his speed.
And Liam didn't hold back. He compared their sizes directly. Canelo walks into the ring looking close to 190 pounds, while Crawford relies on speed and sharpness. That's like bringing a sports car to a demolition derby. Sure, it's slick, but one bad collision and it's game over. Liam's take on the power difference was crystal clear. He's not selling a fantasy. He's giving fans the reality check.
Make 154, you'd have to chop his leg off. Crawford could still make 147. He moves up to 154 for Madrimov, for legacy, to be a two-weight world champion. Now we're trying to be, 5, we skip middleweight, so be interesting.
Then came Breadman Edwards, dropping the real bombshell. He revealed that Canelo has been sparring Jaron Boots Ennis. That's not just sparring. That's like training for a fire drill inside a burning building. Boots is the closest thing to Crawford in style and mindset. A switch hitter, dangerous puncher, relentless thinker. Breadman said it himself. This wasn't just smart, it was chess at the highest level. That's like hiring security to keep Superman out of the building.
Saw that Boots was with him, with Canelo. I said, damn, it probably would have been a good move if Crawford team would have sent Boots a check to say, to keep him away from Team Canelo, because that's the only guy that could prepare you at this level for.
Think about that move. Canelo brought in Boots, a fighter who doesn't take days off. Suddenly, even the betting lines started shifting. That's how seriously Canelo is treating this fight. Breadman even compared it to Emmanuel Stewart's old tactics, hiring sparring partners just to keep them away from the other camp. That's not training. That's strategy at the level of psychological warfare. He even hinted Crawford's team should have moved faster to secure Boots before Canelo did.
We shook things up, and it was a good move by Reynoso, because if I was getting prepared for Crawford, I would use Boots as a sparring partner. If I was getting prepared for Boots, I would use Crawford as a sparring partner.
So when you piece it all together, Max with the history, Hemphill with the gym stories, Alicia reminding us of skill, Liam keeping it real, and Breadman exposing the sparring chess, it feels like this fight is bigger than just Crawford versus Canelo. It feels like the entire boxing world is holding its breath. In the end, it comes down to one question: granite chin or genius brain? Who breaks first? Now it's your turn. Drop your predictions in the comments. Go wild, even if it sounds like a barbershop debate after a few drinks. And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Not for me, but because if you don't, Canelo might start charging rent for living in Crawford's head.